Hey everyone, it's Mike Andes, and I am super excited to make this presentation today because this ultimately saved my business, and I want to share it with all of you. If you stick around for the entire presentation, I'm going to share something really cool with you for free. I'm going to send it to you personally, directly. I will literally do it myself. So stick around for a few minutes here because I really do believe making this change in your business, like I did, will completely change your profits, the way that you interact with your team, and overall how you think about your business. And I want to share that with you because it absolutely changed my life, my business, and the lives of my employees and their paycheck. So let's go ahead and get started. This is literally how I went from broke to $280,000 in profits in just 1 year. So if you're like, this is going to take a very long time, I just made this one change in my business, and literally in 12 months, everything changed. And how this presentation is going to make you money. Why should I be listening to you for the next little bit, Mike? Well, let me explain. If you listen to what I'm talking about and implement this strategy, you're going to get the best workers, pay them more, and you're going to make more profits without having to micromanage your team. And I think that sounds like a pretty good business decision. So if you want to stick around for that, that's what you're going to be getting in this presentation. Now, I'm going to start off a little bit of backstory. I started college when I was 13 years old. This picture here is actually from when I was graduating at 18 with my bachelor's degree. I had already, gone through pre-med and organic chemistry and all the other craziness I had to learn. I was planning to go and take my MCAT and go to medical school. Well, that ended. That whole idea of going to medical school, becoming a doctor, I really wanted to become a surgeon, either on the brain or the heart. So a lot of more school was ahead, and that was the direction I was going. And there were several schools that I applied to and was going to go ahead and get rolling. However, I went to Africa when I was 18 years old, and I went there for 6 weeks. And I went to Nairobi, Kigoni, and Kawangware, more specifically, just outside Nairobi, and volunteered at a bunch of hospitals like the one that's behind me in this picture. And it really changed my whole perspective on the industry, on what medicine meant. And when I came back to the US, I was like, I don't want to be doing this for the rest of my life. One procedure all the time. Over in Africa, I was doing all sorts of crazy stuff, working in the burn unit, working in delivery, working in just everything you could possibly think of. And it was very exciting. Then I came back to the US and realized that for the next 30 years of my life, I was going to be stuck doing the same 4 or 5 procedures if I kept going down the path I was going. And I didn't like the bureaucracy of all the insurance and kind of the legal red tape in the business that had to become in the US when it came to medicine. So that kind of ended the whole idea of becoming a doctor. Well, that's how Augusta started, because I decided, you know what? I'm going to go do what I know what to do best. And that's mow grass, because I had mowed grass since I was 11 years old in preparation for paying for college. My parents didn't have the money, and I knew that I was going to have to pay my way through. So my brother and I started Andy's Lawn Care back when I was 11. But now at 18, I decided I'm not going to go to medical school. So guess what? I'm going to go mow grass. And sure enough, that's exactly what we did. And I started Augusta Lawn Care. That's me at 18 years old. Horrible decision, by the way. Horrible decision. Let me just pop this. Horrible decision to have a white onesie as your uniform when it comes to lawn care, landscaping, and working out in the grass and the dirt and the heat. Not good. But that was a decision I made because I thought it was really good branding, because it had a lot to do with caddies at Augusta National. However, that almost ended because just a few years into growing my business, and it was going well. I had 4 or 5 employees. This dump truck I had purchased because I was growing and expanding. We bought this dump truck and I was delivering materials with it. Oh, one day I was at a project getting the crew started, went underneath the dump truck to turn on the PTO, the power takeoff, because that's the thing that kind of operates the entire dumping mechanism of the dump truck. And it had broke the lever inside of the cab. So I went underneath the dump truck to manually turn it on. When doing so, my hoodie that was around my neck got caught in the PTO that was right behind my head. Got caught and started in a split second, grabbed all of my shirt, my sweater, and my sweatshirt around my neck. Somehow, some way, it split, ripped, and I fell out. There's no seam. There was no zipper. It just all ripped through. I have a lot of scars still to this day from that, but literally, that's the thing that changed my business. Why? Well, it almost ended the business too, but I thought I was going to die. I remember getting caught looking up underneath the PTO, underneath the dump truck, and thinking oh, this is how it's going to end. Well, I dropped out, but it was a couple weeks of being on the mend, being in the hospital, just kind of getting things repaired. You can see me, looking very sorry right here. That was just getting all the wounds, and it was weird. It was like the weirdest stuff was oozing out of my body. Anyways, after a couple of weeks, I realized that my business was really not much of a business. I realized I needed systems, because I realized that when I went down and I couldn't go out and do estimates and hire more people, my business stopped growing. And I was literally on my phone doing videos with my crew on FaceTime to show them the property so they could do the job. That's how reliant the business was on me to get everything done. I didn't have systems for creating estimate videos or taking care of my crew and managing them well and being able to sell more jobs without me having to be there. I needed systems. And that's ultimately when I started creating content and sharing with people like, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing with my business, but I know it needs systems. And as I add systems, I'm going to document what's going on. Well, over the next couple of years, things really started to change. However, my business still wasn't making a lot of money. I wasn't making a lot of profit, but we kept growing. And we just kept growing the team and started growing the office side of things. And this is the 5th year of Augusta Lawn Care. This is now after a couple of years after building more systems so I could grow more revenue, and I still wasn't profitable. We had estimate videos to systematize the estimate process. We had much better systems for the office and for how jobs should be done, but I still wasn't making money, because look at this, the revenue, $1.3 million in revenue. The profit on paper, like on my P&L, was $56,000, but I took absolutely no money from the business, and honestly, hadn't done any distributions really since the beginning of Augusta. And I was spending like 60 to 70 hours at least in the field working on the business, doing estimates, working out with the crew, just doing a lot of stuff myself. Well, compare that to the 6th year of Augusta. Revenue went up a little bit, not a ton, like 15, 20%, $1.5 million in annual revenue, but the profits jumped to $326,000. Pretty cool, right? But this is what's awesome. The distributions went from $0 to $280,000. And when I say distributions, I mean that is money gone from the bank business account to my bank account. This is not profit and loss statement. That's the $326,000. That's what was on the P&L. But what I actually took out of the business and put in my own personal bank account was $280,000. And what's insane is that during the 6th year, I was only spending 2 hours per week on the business. So it went from like 60 to 70 hours a week down to 2 hours a week. So what happened in this 1 year? What changed to go from such revenues that were good, 1.3 million, but no money actually going in my pocket, because all the profit was needing to stay in the business to be able to expand working capital. So there was no money to be able to actually take out of the company. And I know for a lot of people, it's like, okay, I see profit in the business. I see my business is growing, but where in the world is all the money? And that's what I was going through. I almost quit at year 5. And that is crazy, because 5 years ago was right where I was standing at right then, when high revenue, we had been growing, lots of profit, quote unquote, but nothing that I could actually take out of the business for myself. And ultimately what changed is that pay for performance, or P for P, is when we started. Is in year 6, we instituted P for P. And it came to the point where at the end of year 5, I said, look, we have to do P for P. It's an option. And as much as I'm going to encourage my team, I'm going to vote on it, I'm going to make sure they are all bought in, I told my managers, I said, we must do this. And I will push this through if it means losing our entire team, because I know it's right for the business. And sure enough, it paid off, because I had now the time to work on my business, and pay for performance allowed me to do that. It now gave me the time to actually optimize and make things profitable and start figuring out what services were most profitable, and then be able to train the guys more. And I spent way less time in the business compared to the year before, when I made absolutely no money. And here's what P for P did for me: less micromanagement. I didn't have to be worried about what the guys were doing now. If they're on their phone, I assume they were working. And if they didn't, that's fine, because pay for performance, P for P, they only make money. The harder they work, the more money they make. So if they don't want to work hard, they will not make as much money. So I don't need to micromanage and track their truck. We took all of our trackers out of the trucks, because, like, look, if they want to make less money, they can work less hard. If they want to make more money, they will work more hard. That's what P for P rewards. It's a pure meritocracy. And this is what's crazy. $4.81 $4.81 per hour more is what I was able to offer my team. We added benefits, medical benefits, gym reimbursement, and health programs, as well as paid time off, 2 weeks every single year for frontline team members. These are things that I never could have afforded before year 6 in my business. Never. In my wildest dreams, I never thought I could have done this. And this is what's nuts. Call outs, people calling out, dropped by 40%. And I know it's a big problem. People calling out last minute, night before, they party, they call in saying they're sick when really they just have a hangover. Like, people calling out all the time just kills you when it comes to scheduling and running a profitable business. That dropped by 40% because P4P doesn't reward people that call out. And furthermore, 60% drop in callbacks, which to us we call yellow slips inside P4P. But all that means is the customer wasn't happy and said, hey, come back here. That's what we call a callback. You did not do a good job. I'm complaining. Drop by 60%. And for a lot of people, they think pay for performance. And when you pay people based on how fast and how hard they work, it's going to create all sorts of quality problems. They're going to mess everything up and they're just going to break stuff throughout the day. P4P absolutely takes that into account and makes sure that they only get paid bonuses when they do a good quality job and they don't break stuff. And now they're actually incentivized to make sure they don't break stuff and they do a really good job and the customer's happy and there's no callback. So callbacks literally drop by 60% almost overnight after instituting this system of pay for performance. Oh, and by the way, never again was I asked for a raise, because the worst thing about being a boss sometimes is the fact that people ask you for raises and you can't afford it, but you know they deserve it. They work hard, they've been with you for a long time, and they deserve the money, but you can't afford to pay it. And I was coming to that situation, and this is insane because now I've been doing P4P, pay for performance, for 5 years. Not one single time has a field member asked me for a raise. The reason for that, because they know what the answer is going to be. It's going to be, here's how you make more money. Oh, you want a raise? Here's how you do it. You can take on more tasks. You can work harder and more efficiently. And here's how you do it. And here's the 5 other people in the team that are also working extremely efficiently and making much more money than you. Maybe go talk to them. Watch what they do. Watch how they pack their lunch for the day. Watch how when they get into the shop, they're out within 5 minutes back on their truck doing work, because that's how they realize they make more money. And the result of doing this 5 years ago is that now we have over 140 locations in Augusta Lawn Care. I was able to take the time that I was spending 60 to 70 hours a week doing estimates and training the guys and going after callbacks and fixing mistakes. And now I had the time to make systems, make procedures, make the business profitable. And then that allowed me to go and franchise the business. So now I have 7 locations that I own myself across the country, and then 140 franchise locations of other people that use the same systems. So pay for performance is not just like a flash in the pan. All of our franchisees and owners at Augusta Nation use pay for performance to make their business more profitable and more efficient. And this is the reason why it grows and scales, is because it makes you more money. It makes you more money. It gives you back your time, and it gives your employees that have worked so hard also more money. This is actually just from a couple weeks ago at our franchise conference for Augusta Nation. Awesome people. And all of this was made possible because I got off the treadmill and the rat race and the hamster wheel of just running up all the time, working hard in my business, instead of actually sitting down and asking myself the question, what would fix all of this? What would it take for me not to have to micromanage, for my crew to be motivated, both money motivated and quality motivated, and they can make more money the same way the business does? And this is ultimately what it comes down to. This is what I call the 4L framework. These are 4 constraints in your business. They're going to keep you from growing. And I want you to be able to keep growing. But at any point in your business, these 4 constraints are going to cause you to stop growing your business. Liquidity, money, capital, etc. Leads, right? You got to go get more customers. Then labor or leadership. Now, the one that I talk to business owners every single day on, the one that they always say they have the hardest time on right now, is labor. They're like, look, I got all the work in the world, especially during the spring rush. Work is coming through my ears, but I can't get people to come work hard. And I can't pay what other competition is willing to pay, whether it be Amazon or UPS or retailers that all of a sudden are able to pay just as much, if not more than me. And my crew is able to be in an air-conditioned facility all day instead of out in the blazing heat when I need them to be mowing grass or doing some sort of work on a house. So labor has been the biggest constraint for so many of us. And in my opinion, That is the one that pay for performance fixes this constraint. And if you can fix it, it allows you to grow the business. And when I look at labor, I look at the three things, the CAR framework, I call it, CAR: compensate, attract, retain. This is how you solve the labor problem. You have to compensate them correctly, you have to attract them correctly, and you have to retain them, because I got to pay enough compensation in order to attract good talent. And then I need to also have a system that's going to be able to retain that talent so they don't get poached by someone else for $1.50 extra per hour. So let's go through this real quick. Compensate. How is P4P going to help me compensate the talent that I need in my business? You can't afford to pay more. All right. I came to the point where I just could not pay people any more money. I could not afford it, wasn't making any profit myself, and they were asking for raises. And it's extremely excruciating. It's painful to tell someone, look, you're working crazy hard. You're doing a great job. I know you're making only $1 more than someone else that is lazy, but I can't pay you anymore because I can't afford it. And literally, it just says it. Lazy employees get paid similar. It's not fair that someone who produces 5 times more profit for the business gets paid $2 more per hour than the guy that literally takes naps, is on his phone playing with TikTok all day long. That's not fair. The person that takes 20 smoke breaks throughout the day versus the person that is busting butt all day long, getting into the shop and out quickly, make sure they pack a lunch so they are efficient throughout the day, talks to the customers, make sure they don't have callbacks, and yet you can only pay them a couple dollars more per hour. That's not fair. So if people want to say that, oh, pay for performance isn't fair, what isn't fair is the fact that raises and compensation is based upon how randomly long they've been with you, whether or not you like them, whether or not you go hunting with them all the time. I wanted to pay people based upon performance. I didn't want to pay them based upon tenure or experience. It's like, well, I'm very experienced, so I should get more money. No, you should get more money if you produce more money for the business. And that's what P4P does. It's like, look, doesn't matter anything about your experience or how long you've been here. If you produce money for the company, you will make more money. And if you have more experience, you should be able to make more money because you should become more efficient. Now, how does P4P help to attract good talent? Well, this is the problem. Right now, wages are pretty similar to like warehouse and retail work. After COVID happened and everyone started to be able to pay more money, all these big corporations, it's harder as a small business owner to be able to compete with them. And so it's tough because we got to work outside and it's not easy work. It's also really tough to attract talent because, they don't even show up for an interview. Well, why would I show up to an interview as an employee if I applied for 20 positions, all for the roughly same amount of dollar amount per hour? I'm just going to show up to the one that's probably the easiest, the one that was simplest for me to sign up for, etc., instead of the one that could actually pay me the most, but is hidden behind this dollar per hour figure. So how do I use pay for performance to say, hey, look, if you're a grade A talent, you can, I'm going to differentiate myself as a business owner by saying, look, if you want to work with the best of the best and be paid better than everyone else, you come work for us because we're going to give you a piece of the pie. We're going to give you a piece of the revenue. And then the harder you work, the more money you will make. And honestly, applicants with experience want too much money. And so people come with experience of, say, lawn care at Augusta Lawn Care, like, well, I've been doing this for 10 years. I therefore want $40 an hour. It's like, look, I don't even know if you're going to produce $40 per hour work. You might hop in a truck and literally the person that started last week mowing grass outperforms you, makes more money for the business. So why in the world am I going to pay you 40 and them 20? That doesn't make a lot of sense. When the person that's just eager and hungry and willing to work is able to outperform and make more money for the business, it kind of makes sense that they should also make more money. And so that's what attracting talent does, especially if you're people that are new, that are willing to work hard. Now, the last part, retaining employees, is also important because a lot of times in businesses, as employees stay, they start off good, but then they start to become entitled. Well, I'm entitled to more pay. I'm entitled to more benefits. Because I'm here a year, I should get $2 more per hour. Because I did this, I should. And it's not tied to performance. It's simply they're entitled because they've been there longer and longer. And then all of a sudden, people will leave for like $1 more per hour. And like, what in the world? They've worked so well for a year or 2 years, and all of a sudden they leave over $1 more per hour. When in reality, if you just institute pay for performance, as they gained a year or two of experience, they become more efficient. They'd start making $3, $4, $5 more per hour inside of your business, and you'd be able to retain that employee. And this is the biggest thing. A players hate working with C players. There's nothing more demotivating. demotivating? Yes, demotivating to be an awesome, hardworking employee and have to work with someone all day long that's dragging their feet and is lazy. And I would venture to believe that a lot of A players would be willing to take same or even a little bit less pay just to work with an awesome team of hardworking people, because it is so demoralizing to have to work with people that are dragging their feet and you're having to like pull them along while you're working with them throughout the day. Honestly, I want a meritocracy, no politics, because everyone's pay isn't based on who knows the boss, who's been here the longest. It is a meritocracy. You work harder, you make more money. Very simple. Makes a lot of sense. I want to have clear guidelines for increasing pay and benefits instead of it being like based upon, well, if you've been here for 2 years, you get an increase in pay. If you start doing these certain type of projects, you get more pay. Why not just tie it to the thing that you really want, which is profit? How profitable are you for the business? How efficient are you for the business? That is going to be the determining factor of what your pay is going to be. Let's see how it's going to work. All right, let me show you exactly how to do this, regardless of whether or not you use p4psoftware.com. So let me go ahead and just pull this up on my Remarkable, where I'm going to share with you exactly how this is done. All right, present this. Boom. Okay, so this is a given week. Now, typically we would do a 2-week pay period. I'm going to go ahead and throw myself down here in the corner. And this is how you're going to calculate P4P. We're going to assume here on the bottom that we are going to give the employee $18 per hour as a base pay, meaning that they can't make less than that. And that's how we make sure that it's legal and compliant. And whatever your base pay needs to be in your market, that's totally fine. Doesn't matter. It's what we need them to be able to be legal. We cannot go less than $18 per hour. That is their base pay. We're also going to assume in this example that we're giving them 1/3 of the labor revenue, or 33%. All right. Now, let's assume that this crew is a mowing crew. You can do the same thing with projects, but let's just assume this is mowing for the sake of this example, because it's 1 week and we can just do 5 days of mowing. So day one, we're just going to look here at Monday. And on base pay, they're going to work 8 hours. So 8 times 18 is $144. Every single day, you just need to keep track of 2 numbers. What did they earn on base pay? Essentially clocked hours times base pay. So 18 times 8. There you go, 144. And then you're going to calculate P4P, which is simply, in this case, this example, 33% of labor revenue. So we can assume that if I take 176 and multiply it by 3, that's how much labor revenue they earned for the day. And it's not hard to calculate. I'm going to look at all their jobs, going to add up how much they made for the day. Bam. Divide that by 3, because I'm giving them 33%. Here's what they earned, this employee, on Monday, $176. I'm going to send them a report and tell them, hey, look, guess what? Because of P4P, you earn an extra $32 today. That's pretty awesome. Pretty cool. Then I'm going to do the same thing for Tuesday. Okay, on Tuesday, it just so happens, for the sake of this example, that P4P, they earned exactly the same amount as they did on base pay. All right. Then they crushed it on Wednesday, and then they crushed it on Thursday. Then look what happened on Friday. Friday, they actually made less money on P4P. $4 less on P4P compared to base pay. Now, I could extrapolate this and assume that because on Friday they made $140, that would mean that if I'm giving them 33% of the labor revenue, that they earned $420 for the business. How do I know that? Because 420 divided by 3, there's my $140 in P4P that they earned and is their bonus. That is part of P4P. Now, here's the thing. Because it was lower on this day, this is what I do. I add up all of P4P for the entire pay period. I then also add up all of base pay for the pay period. So now I have $880 for this week, and I have $720 for this week for base pay. You always give the employee the higher of these 2 numbers. It's that simple. So for this pay period, this employee earned a total of $160 bonus because of P4P. Pretty awesome. If they worked 40 hours in the week, you literally were able to give them $4 more per hour because of P4P. This is as simple as it gets. And that is every single day, I'm going to keep track of 2 numbers. How much did they earn on base pay? to make sure I'm legal and compliant, and then how much they earned on pay for performance. And I'm giving them a percentage of the labor revenue. It's very easy to calculate. And even if you're doing projects, it's the exact same way. I'm simply going to give them a percentage of the labor revenue. If it's a $5,000 job and $2,000 of that is labor revenue, I'm giving them 1/3 of that labor revenue in this example, which is going to be exactly $633. So again, is it 600? No, it's not. It's $667. So it's going to be 2,000 divided by 3. And so honestly, when it comes to pay for performance, the math is relatively simple. There's always going to be the person that's like, well, what about if they make mistakes? What if they make damage cases? What if they have to go back to the property? What if they go too fast? What about when you're training somebody? What happens when you do overtime? How does that happen? What happens when there's a damage case? And they're going so fast, do I take money out of their P for P? These are the questions as to why people don't institute pay for performance. But before I talk about that, a lot of people are going to say, I'm not ready for pay for performance. I'm not ready to do it all the way. And I've heard you. I know exactly the feeling. And I think that a lot of people have not instituted pay for performance because they say, well, I don't know my labor revenue. I don't know exactly how to be able to figure out the labor revenue for every single job. Okay, great. Coming soon. Achievement awards inside of P4P software is going to allow you to give employees incentives for things outside of just the dollars and cents that we just calculated. You'll be able to give them awards based on achievements like being on time. Showing up every single day for X amount of days in a row unlocks more paid time off. It unlocks a $100 gift card for the gas station. These are awards that you can give away to your highest achievers because they consistently show up, because they do certain activities like, hey, if you wash your truck every single day for 100 days in a row, you're going to get a paid vacation day. These are the type of things you're going to be able to do inside the app. Very cool. And you can see we already have started doing this, and that is tracking how much money they are making inside of the P4P app, i.e. their bonus on top of base pay. But also we're tracking things like how often are they making sure, are they on time? Do we make sure they don't have call outs? These are all things that you can actually give awards to based upon achievements. Again, performance-based pay. The harder you work, the more money you make. If you show up on time, we'll give you more money. We'll give you awards. We'll give you recognition. These are the type of things that you can do inside of the P4P app already. And because I told you I would, I'm going to give you this reward for getting through this presentation so far. It's been over 25 minutes and you've been listening very intently. And this is going to explain in much more detail than I have in the past 25 minutes of all the fine, intricate details that you could possibly imagine right here. Now, this book is right here. Let me actually get it for you. Let me show you this. It's pretty cool. This is the hardcover book, all right? This is not no soft cover junk stuff. We're going to give you the real deal. All I need you to do is go to mikeandes.com/freebook and fill out the form. I personally will sign this for you. I'm going to sign the check right here. I'll sign right here with a Sharpie, and I will send it to you in the mail. It will walk you through all of the calculations and all the fine details that you could possibly think about as to why you would not institute P4P. Because I thought of all those same things too. And I was like, I can't do it for this reason or that reason or whatever. And I found out, guess what? A lot of times I came down to the fact that I was simply lazy. Paying people by the hour was just lazy because I could just take their hourly rate, multiply it by how much I paid them per hour for how many hours they worked in the week, and boom, there's their paycheck. Very simple. But guess what? It's lazy. And so we were able to figure out a way using P4P to be able to pay your employees based upon performance. And guess what? It didn't take a whole bunch of time. In less than 1 minute per day per employee, I could figure out exactly this P4P method. Now, if you're like, I don't like books, great. I'm going to give you some free training as well. Go to mikeandes.com/P4P. It's called P4P University. And if you sign up for this bad boy, you're going to be able to watch all the videos exactly what's in the book for free. So if you're like, I don't like reading, guess what? I don't either. So you can go to mikeandes.com/P4P, watch all the videos, and there's videos there for your team to explain to them how P4P works. Now, if all of this seems very complicated and you're like, I hate math. Not only do I hate books, I hate math too. Well, I've literally just made this tool called p4psoftware.com to do all the math for you. So if this scares you, you're like, well, I don't like to add it all up, and I'm not good at Excel, and I don't want to have to figure out damage cases, or if they're not non-producing revenue hours, like if they're sharpening blades, how do I account for that? All of those little fine details, callbacks and damage cases and penalizing employees if they do these, have to have employee, you have to send someone back to the property. All of that, I figured out all of that in p4psoftware.com. I made it within less than 1 minute per day per employee. You can calculate how much revenue that employee brought into the business. And it doesn't take a lot of time. It's relatively cheap, and it'll save you a lot of time compared to having to figure out Excel spreadsheets and keeping track of projects that are a week or two. Because some people are like, well, I can't do P4P because I don't do mowing and I don't do recurring services. My projects are 2 or 3 or 4 weeks long or months long. There are people using P4P that have hundreds of thousands of dollars in projects, massive construction projects that they do using pay for performance. And so we made it really, really simple that you can type in a couple digits, couple numbers in every single day for your employees and get all of this math done for you. So at the end of the pay period, it just tells you how much to pay them. Here's how much they got on base pay, and here's how much bonus they got. And if they worked hard, they make more money. And if they make more money, it means you're making more money. And that's ultimately why I'm here today, is to share with you how you can make more money with less micromanagement and your employees make more money as well. It will absolutely change your business. It has for myself, has for all of Augusta Nation, Augusta Lawn Care franchisees across Canada and the United States, and for over 300 other businesses already using the software. But even if you don't use the software, please go to mikeandes.com/freebook, and I'll send you this in the mail, signed copy. Also, if you like videos, mikeandes.com/training, completely free. Take yourself 4 or 5 hours, watch all the videos. I promise you, those 4 or 5 hours will save you so much headache, so much trouble, and it will make you more money. So please take the time. I appreciate your attention for the last little bit, and I look forward to seeing what P4P can do for in your business, and I hope it changes it as much as it did for me. Take care.